Hello everybody, this is Make It Better, and today we're going to do part 3. Last time I left you on where Sue and Deku is going to go on their date. Actually, I was kind of wrong. I was more focused on the story than I didn't really get to more of the plot. Or reverse. So technically they're still in the first month. And end of the week is going to be their date. So they're going to do classes and it's all normal. They're just right now just talking about the date and what Zuko's planning on something, and Sue doesn't know exactly what he's gonna plan on. So he got an idea. So around Wednesday, Zuko and his friends, Suyu, Uraraka, Ida, Bakugo, and Kirishima, and Mina, Karamari, and Manila. All of them are friends in that group. Zuko just switched around on bringing really good friends on one date with Uraka, Suyu, and Ida, and then he moved to the other days with Kalamari, Manila, and Kirishima. It's them. So he just does that time to time, but he's trying to make friends to everybody in the whole class. But on Wednesday, it's different. When he was pretty much getting ready to eat lunch, All Might came out of the corner and asked Deku if he could have lunch with him. As everybody's kind of jealous at this point that Zuko getting to eat with All Might, the number one hero. Sorry, he moved some stuff. Getting comfortable at this point. And Deku pretty much said, okay, he'll go. So they're off going eating. And after they're done, All Might starts talking to Zuko about his quirk and how versatile it looks. So Zuko's telling All Might exactly what his quirk can do and how it works for him, but he doesn't tell about the soulmate thing. Because for Zuko, when he actually turns on his quirk to show All Might, and All Might's very impressed. He didn't really notice all these lines are around him. But Zuko pretty much told him, yeah, Zuko, my quirk. Right now, I'm making it where you don't feel trapped in it. Like one of my moves is a thread gate, and that pretty much makes the threads move back where they were to make a straight line towards whatever direction they were, and that pretty much force you to stay in one place. And Zuko did it, and All Might can't really move. And Zuko pretty much told him, you can try to punch through it, and All Might does about 5% since he doesn't want to destroy the room, and he can't move it. Then he turned up the percentage, and he still can't move it. Zuko can see the tension on the strings, and All Might and Deku pretty much tell him, my quirk is called the Red Thread of Fate, so technically you're not allowed to move those strings. Since my quirk, I can actually, and he pulls on one of the strings, move it up and down, let it go, and make it look like he's cutting it through, but just moving it up. Oh wait, I forgot. Zuko was telling that about. I forgot that point. Dang. So actually, All Might just actually talk with him more details about his quirk. Let's do that. And All Might pretty much asked him to take off his shirt. Zuko's asking why, and All Might pretty much said just to see how strong you are. And Deku said okay. So he does, and he's more strong. He looks way more stronger than Canon Deku in third season. Or the fourth season, even though. And All Might is pretty impressed and said, okay, I decided. And Zuko said, decided what? All Might said, well, let me tell you about my quirk. And Zuko's getting excited to know what his quirk is. And All Might said, My quirk is actually one for all. And he explained it, exactly what it does, and All Might said, and I decide you to be my next successor. Zuko pretty uh um what's the word? Amazed that and surprised that he's going to be the next successor. And so Zuko pretty much agrees to take his quirk. So he's asking questions on how to take the quirk, and Zuko and All Might said, pulled out a hair and said, "Eat this." And that little gag happened. Zuko ate the quirk and left since it was time for the class. Everything went off same thing, and Zuko felt something different, but he chose to ignore it and asked for All Might in the day. So Zuko asked All Might about it in the day, and All Might pretty much tell him to do kind of like in canon on the first after the 10 months, and Zuko pretty much threw a punch out in the sky, and it was pretty good, but Zuko broke his arm. Recovery Girl fixed it, and Zuko pretty much was sitting there, pretty exhausted, and asked All Might more questions this time. So, All Might, do you like focus it in one point, or do you spread it out? I feel it, but I just what exactly do you have it on like all the time, or? And All Might said, "Well, yeah, I have it on all the time, and let it flow." Like that crappy teaching that he does in the first season. And Deku pretty much think, wait, does this improve my quirk? And All Might said, yeah, it improves your quirk and becomes your other quirk. And if you fuse it together perfectly, your your original quirk will be much more powerful. So that's going on. Now, after school, he's actually getting training, get some more training in with All Might. So I'm just going to give him full counting at first week, second, third. In the third and a half of a week, Zuko figured out a full counting, and so he's learning to use full counting and doing other stuff. You guys will know about his other quirk and how strong he's gotten. So, end of that third week. Yes, I skipped through over their state. There's a reason. I'll just go back and do the date, since I guess most of you are wondering about that. So Zuko pretty much asked you to meet him up at a certain mall. There'll be another mall instead of the one in canon. And they meet up around 12-ish. Zuko pretty much walked up to her as they're meeting up and saying they both look really nice. And Suyu asked what are they going to be doing. And Zuko said, well, we're going to have lunch here and go off somewhere else. And Suyu said, okay. So they actually have lunch in the mall, enjoying it and talking throughout the whole time. Knowing some stuff about her, Zuko knowing some stuff, getting known, and stuff like that. And now, about a few hours pass. They're actually, Zuko pretty much told her there's another spot I want to go, if you're okay with it. And she said okay. She's enjoying the date, so she doesn't know exactly what he's doing. So Zuko pretty much took her to a train station and went off. And going to a town called Deku, I think. And Zuko pretty much got her off and walked toward the beach. But not at the beach, it's more like the forest of the beach, where it's more of a park. And Zuko just pretty much sat around the bench and talked to her like this. He pretty much explained to her that since I really don't know all about you, I decide how we just talk. And this is like a very quiet place, so no one can really intervene us. So, what do you want to talk about? And they talk and talk about their family, how many friends they had. Both of them surprised that Zuko had about 1 to 2 friends, and Suyu had 2 friends, and then one. And she's still in contact with one of them. Zuko is not with any of them. He made new friends. Um, then their families, Suyu's father, mother, and brother and little brother, little sister, are all have the frog quirk. Zuko's family is different. His dad has a fire, a breathing quirk, not very strong, and his mother has a telekinesis that's not very strong. And he was one of the rare ones to have a different quirk from his family. And so you ask, and your grandparents, they don't have anything close to it? Zuko said, nope. They all have different quirks. And so Suyu learned that Deku had to learn his quirk from the very beginning and not know what to do. So he had trial and error. And Zuko pretty much showed her like some scars on his arm, showing her like times where he got a scratch from one thread to another. All that time. After they're leaving, it was getting close to 11, and Zuko decided to take her home. Zuko pretty much, and they're still talking about this all throughout the whole time. Hey, 12 minutes, and I did it all about this story. And Zuko pretty much is telling her, well, asking her about everything else, and now the directions to her house. So she tells him, and they're going. And right up in front of her, the house, Zuko said, well, he kind of do like a salute of sorts and say, well, ma'am, it's been a pleasure of dating you. Until next time. And so he salutes and kind of like walking off. At this point, Suyu pretty much pulled him in, give him a peck on the cheek, and then walked in, and then ran into her house. And her father was there, saw the whole thing, and pretty much proud of her, proud of his daughter uh, finding a young man, and the young man seems responsible, and he's saying this to Suyu, and Suyu is giving a deep blush. She was really enjoying it the date the whole time. Never really knew that a date can be so peaceful and yet so fun at the same time. So Zuko, let's move on to Zuko's point of view. He's pretty much still there in shock. Didn't expect her to kiss him on the cheek, of course, but still a kiss. And he's kind of like excited, but he needs to walk out just a few blocks away before he doesn't embarrass himself in front of Suyu or her parents. And when he got out about a block away, he pretty much is jumping around using his quirk and start jumping on each thread, and as high as he can. He's up to airplane height right now, and he doesn't know it, but he's just pretty much putting a pose like All Might does when he does a ultimate smash. And he's doing that, and yeah, he's enjoying it. After that, he realized where he is, and slowly but surely getting down to the very bottom. But since he was up there, he actually like moved forward to where the train station is and went down. Now back to 3 weeks. And I was on the last week of, let me think, there, and then 2, there, yeah. It'll be on the 4th week right now. Everything went the same for Deku. He's actually training with All Might, talking with Suyu, enjoying the talking about that date and all the other stuff. Uraraka, Amina, they were pretty much talking to Deku and Suyu how their date went, and they were pretty much telling them some parts, not all of it, because it's private, their little secret. And yeah, at this point, Aizawa came in the class and tell everybody to get on the bus. Did I do it? No, I didn't. So everybody had to choose. Did I don't remember if I gave them who's class president or not. No, I didn't because my last one. Okay, so they actually chose a class representative for the 4th week, and this is where everybody gets to has a chance to actually judge on who. And this time, Zuko and they chose Ida and no, Momo Yodoruzu as class president, and Ida as vice president. The vice does everything. The president just stand there and look pretty. Yeah, I'll just do that. They're dynamic like this. So Ida pretty much is the bossy one through all this time, but like in canon, but Momo is the final judge of everything. Okay. The class. So we go to lunch. This is like the 4th week. I mean. So they went to lunch, and the accident happened, where everybody's pretty much running. The alarm going off. Everybody's panicking. Zuko sees the outside, and pretty much reached out his hand and said, "Red thread, get jail." And everybody is pretty much frozen in spot. And now they're screaming and crying. Some of them are crying. Manila as well, crying. And Zuko, no, asked Suyu to actually pick him up and throw him up in the air. And she did just a bit for Zuko to actually reach onto one of his threads, pull on himself, and he's just now on the threads, walking and bouncing up, and clapping around until someone stops and start looking, and everybody's crying down. And these few minutes, Zuko tells them to look outside and tell him what they see. And they see the press getting pushed back by the heroes, and the police coming in and taking the press out. So they understand now that they were panicking for nothing, and they're still stuck. And Zuko said, "What did that?" And everything, they are now able to move. So everybody's pretty much surprised about this. Ida was going to tell them that he wants to give Zuko the vice president because he thinks he's worthy. And Zuko said, "No, that was just a one-time thing. Any other time, I think Ida will be the best for it." And that's going on. So end of the week, Aizawa pretty much came in telling everybody to pack up, get ready for put on your hero costume, and get onto the bus. We're going to go to the USJ. Right on the bus, everybody's pretty much talking. Suyu is talking with Deku, and Suyu still, well, this time asked Bakugo and Todoroki about their quirks, since she already knows about Zuko's. And both all the girls and all the guys already know about the Zuko's, and yeah, they are still thinking about what they should do with that. So Bakugo tells about his story, about his quirk, and Zuko pretty much chime in. "Oh, right, he eats a lot of spicy food to help his quirk out. Just to let you guys know, because it's always funny to me." And they say, "What do you mean by funny?" Zuko said, because for him, he sweats a lot, but you can't smell it. His sweats are like a perfume of sorts, or cologne. So he smells nothing, but he uses a sweat for explosion. And he's just kind of like smiling at Bakugo. Bakugo, kind of the blushy, kind of like a blush face, pretty much embarrassed that Zuko told everybody that he sweats um, perfume or cologne, and so no one can tell if he's really sweaty or just have a lot of cologne or perfume on. So they're kind of chuckling at this point, and Todoroki talk about only his eyes and nothing else. So they get off, and everybody does the same thing, up to the point where Kirishima say, "Look, are those villains? Are we gonna be fighting villains now?" And right when he was trying to finish, as Aizawa pretty much said, those are not villains. This is not a test. 13, protect the children. And he jump off and try stop them. Zuko, everybody else pretty much is getting shocked and scared, but Zuko pretty much calm them down and tell Ida to run and go get help, because it's all that radio interference. So Ida somehow got out when Zuko pretty much pushed, kind of like a punch, but punch him out of the door. And he now is showing his powers. Hold on. Showing his powers. And they're still focused on all this stuff going on. And Zuko's trying to push everybody out, but he only did about only Ida. At this point, Shigaraki tells the poor guy to get all the kids and separate them. So they do. Now Zuko is falling, but he grabs on one of his rope threads and sees the boat and starts swinging over there, or jumping over there. He sees Mineta falling as well and sees Suyu, so he actually spread out his threads. And now, with All for One boosting Zuko's quirk, when he the area for everybody can see, it went up to 200 feet. I'll do it my way. 200 feet away. So Suyu can see where she is falling, and she sees a thread. So Zuko pretty much forced the thread to be thicker, and Mineta does the same thing. Zuko tells him to use your balls to get stick on it, and Suyu caught onto one of those threads and not falling anymore. And Mineta's using one of his balls and it got stuck. And Zuko pretty much is like getting close to both of them, grabbing Mineta and holding him and going to Suyu and staying in a certain spot above the water, about how tall they do it. I say 3 stories high, above the water. So they're up there, not even close to the boat, like in the middle of the whole lake thing. So Zuko and them are talking about how to get out. And Zuko pretty much tells them to hold on to him, and Mineta was about to grab Suyu's chest, but Zuko pretty much slapped Mineta's on the face and his hand. Well, his hand first, and then his face. And then Zuko said, "There's no time for that. And plus, you touch her, I'll make you feel worse pain than I did last time." And Mineta, still scared, understood this, and stopped doing that. And little did he notice that Mineta lost another thread. Well, a few threads. I said last time 1,000. I'm doing 100 because 1,000 I can't really remember all of that. So, not 100, about 50. That'll be good. So, Suyu is pretty happy that Zuko did that for her, but she could do it herself, but still happy about it. And so she agrees and actually hugs him tight. And Zuko can feel say they're so soft in his head, and he's just giving a little smirk. And Manila sees this and just pretty much hold on to his arm. Well, he put his sticky balls on him and hold on to those. And Manila's in his head, just pretty much so jealous at this point. Oh, dang, this hurts. Oh. And Zuko is like everybody's holding tight, and he pretty much let go all the way about down to a 1 story height because he's still holding to the thread where it was on the 3rd story, and he just tell everybody to hold on tightly, and they're holding on tight this time. And he tell Manila to drop as many balls as he can, and he does. Some of them are stuck in the air because it's on the threads. The rest is on the water. Everybody's scared to touch them. And Zuko says slingshot, and he's still holding on and starts flying off. And everybody just feels the pressure of how fast he can go on one of these threads. Zuko turned off his quirk that's how he does. He turn it on, leave it on. When he does his move, he had to turn it off or he won't hit anything because he's going straight to the land. So as they're flying off, Zuko pretty much was out of the area where Manila's balls were still in the air, so they had to fall. But they fell right onto the villains, and the villains are getting scared of them and try to touch each one, and they're helping each other out. Sadly enough, not like in canon, but in canon, they are getting stuck like a ball, just floating in the air, one in the middle. And Zuko pretty much is flying all the way to the edge of the water. And Zuko kind of like grab a string, kind of spin around a bit before he can just fall in the water because on land it will hurt like heck. And they do, right at the same area in canon. And they're seeing is Aizawa getting beating up all the villains, and then the Nomu come up and start beating on him constantly. And Zuko pretty much got into sees who's ordering him and sees Shigaraki. And Deku pretty much went after Shigaraki and attacked, using one for all, using 10%. Yeah, 10%. And it was pretty strong punch, but the Nomu protected Shigaraki and attacked Deku. Sorry. And at this point, Zuko is learning that the Nomu has multiple quirks, not just one. Shock absorption, regeneration, and no super strength. I'm not sure if he had third one, but not. But other one. And so Zuko is actually fighting with the Nomu, and it's pretty close. And Zuko decided is fighting with it. Shigaraki sees the 2 kids that he was in the edge, pretty close to the battlefield. Decide to go over there, and right when he's like right in front of Zuko sees this, let the Nomu hit him, and it's flying towards a certain thread. So he grabbed on one of the threads and let it get pulled back and said slingshot and went straight to Shigaraki. This time even faster, and Shigaraki is getting really close to Suyu, up to where it's in canon, where his hand is on top, close, 3 inches close to her face. And Zuko can see what's going to be happening if he doesn't get fast enough. So he charge up one for all, full cowling, focusing it over his body, and gave a huge hit on his face. making Shiraki flying far, pretty far, but not too far, out of that area. And Zuko pretty much stopped himself right in front of Tsuyu, uh, checking her face and seeing if she's okay or not. But she's just pretty much, she kind of passed out at that point. And so she's passed out. Zuko's checking if she's still alive or not, if he used his quirk on her. And he noticed that Tsuyu is still alive. She's just passed out. So Zuko pretty much tells Manila, without being pervert, to take her and go out of the battlefield, find the other students, other classmates. And Manila shakingly said, yeah, and start running. And Zuko said, this is the perfect way to show how strong you are. And left off. So Manila, with some hope, start running. And he's just getting close to 13. I'll try and go over to 13. At this point, Shiraki pretty much got out of the rebel and told the Numu to kill that kid. And Zuko is now dodging a remove and trying to punch the Nomu every time. And he still can't pretty much land a good hit. And Aizawa's trying to help him, but it's not helping. And at this point, the Nomu was giving its best punches right at Zuko. 1 second after that, they hear a bang, a sound, and it's All Might breaking through the door, flying in and fighting with the Nomu. And Zuko pretty much said out loud, "A thread, a prison," and it's stuck on, and it made because Zuko noticed that the little meeting with All Might pretty much made him think if someone was strong enough to actually bend one of his threads, he will actually feel the effects. So he found a weakness to his quirk. So Zuko was waiting for a perfect time. And All Might was pretty much charging up Texas Smash. And the Nomu is moving in his threads. It's slow, really slow, and he's getting orders to keep moving. And Zuko tells, why was my head going? Or tell All Might to hurry up. He can't hold it on for any longer, and he's starting to bleed through his nose and start bleeding out of his eyes as well. And Aizawa pretty much is doing the same thing. Only his eyes bleeding to keep the Nomu to not use. Oh, super strength. That was the third one. Super strength is other quirk, and not to use that one. So with all of them together, Might pretty much gave the Texas Smash at the Nomu, making it fly away and destroying its brain. So Zuko pretty much passed out. Aizawa passed out. All the other teachers sees this and start taking away all the other villains. The Shiraki and Torm and the other Apollo guy pretty much is already escaped, knowing that their Nomu was defeated by All Might and that dang kid. So afterwards, Zuko was in the hospital, in the recovery girl's room, pretty tired at this point, and his eyes are covered up. And Tsuyu is just laying there with him. She woke up after a few hours, but Zuko haven't woke up yet. And she was given the news that they're gonna get 2 weeks off from 2 weeks off. I remember 2 weeks off to for UA to fix the problem and make sure it won't happen again. And she pretty much had to be able to tell that to Zuko when he wakes up. So everybody's pretty much leaving. One girl, pretty much, I'll say, Zero. She saw uh, Manila pretty much picking up Suyu and running towards a safe area, and he just saw him. She saw him put her down and try to protect her as if any villains were coming by, and she pretty much pretty much says this to Manila and Suyu and also to Suyu, and so Suyu and Jiro pretty much said thank you for being so brave of taking protecting Suyu, protecting me. And at this point, Manila has got about 3 threads taken away, 3 loops taken away, and he just feels a little bit happier that he forgot to say you're welcome, almost. But he said, "You're welcome." It was a hero's job, and he just walked off pretty happy that a girl complimented on something he did. It never happened before, so he's gonna go tell his mother. Everybody else is leaving, and Suyu pretty much decides to stay right next to his Zuko's side. Also, Ida and Rorako decide to stay there as well to help out with if he needs anything. After a few hours, Ida and Uraka went out to get some drinks for them, Suyu, and also Deku when he wakes up. So they're out of the room right now. And Deku, pretty much shocked, hurt himself, wake up and pretty much panicking, saying, "Where's the Nomu? Where's the Nomu? It did All Might defeat it." And he looks around and said, "Where am I? Where am I?" And he sees Suyu, and she's just staring at him. And Deku said, oh, "Okay." Well, no, he doesn't see her. He feels her hand, grabbing onto him, because right now his eyes are covered, and he thought he was captured by the villains. And Suyu pretty much told him, I'm here. It's okay, we're in recovery girl's office, and you're been badly injured." And Deku said, wait, Suyu, are you okay? And were you hurt any way possible? And she said, "No, I'm fine. I just passed out. Manila helped me protect me when I was passed out." And Zuko said, "Oh, that was good." Okay, okay. So what's going on? After a few minutes, he pretty much is talking to Suyu, and after a minute, he hears the door opening, and hears talking from 2 people, and Suyu said, "Oh, you're back. Took you guys a while. Hold on. Oh, you're back." And Zuko said, "Who's back?" And he hears the talking and said, "Is that you, Ida and Oraka?" And they say, "Yeah." "What, you can't see us?" And they turn and open the curtain and said, "Oh, yeah. Forgot about that." And so Zuko is just asked them what else has happened in the thing and what else is going on. And Suyu pretty much tell him that 2 weeks and we're getting a 2 weeks off, and yeah. So we'll skip a week. Zuko is in his house, pretty much working on his work, and then he hears a doorbell. Since it's in the middle of the day, both his parents are out working, and he opens the door and sees Suyu and Ida and Uraka, and said, "Wasn't expecting you guys, but come in, I guess." As he was about to close the doors, as he closed the door, he hears another ringing, and pretty much said, "Okay," and open the door and see the rest of them. um, Mineta, Kirishima, Kaminari, and Mina, and Bakugo. And they came, pretty much are walking in as well. Don't forget us, and start walking in. And Zuko is pretty much asking everybody why are they here. Zuko, and Ida pretty much told him, oh, that since you're since you helped us so much, we should have like repay you a favor. And Zuko said, okay. And what do you guys have in mind? Because I can't. Well, and they said, well, what? And Zuko said, I need. I guess you can help me with my quirk. About for 2 days. No, 1 day will be good. If you guys would help me with my quirk. And they said, yeah, we can do that. And so they are. Zuko pretty much taking them outside and ask them. Um, ask them in a different time. So every hour, Zuko is training his quirk with one of them, as everybody else do their own thing. So first it's Deku versus Bakugo, and Deku pretty much tell Bakugo to to try to push or explode my threads, and Bakugo said, "But they're unbreakable. You told me that last time." Zuko said, "Yeah, but I learned a weakness to my quirk, and I need to make it stronger." And Bakugo said, "Fine." And so he's pretty much saying die at the threads. It's just imagining all the people he hates, which is a lot. And Zuko's kind of like feeling that headache, and then stopping a bit, and then going on for a whole hour. After a break of 10 minutes, he asked, "What's Bakugo?" No, not yet. No, not yet. Kirishima. And Zuko pretty much tell him, okay, since you're really strong, do you want me I'll help you with your quirk as well. And Kirishima said, yeah, to get rock hard. And Zuko is pretty much laughing at this point, knowing a different meaning for that. And Kirishima doesn't know, and Zuko's not planning to tell him. Zuko pretty much spread out his threads to be 100 feet up, not around him, just up. And they will pretty much tell him, Kirishima, to climb up as high as you can. And they're doing it. At points where Kirishima can't reach any higher, Zuko helped him pull him up and make him go higher. And they're both now standing on top, or at the very top, pretty much where airplanes fly at. About 100 feet under that, just to be a little safe. So they're right now at skyscraper's height, and Zuko pretty much asks Kirishima if you need any more help. Kirishima is kind of like scared at this point. He's never been this high before, and Zuko said, "It's okay, it's fine. I'll catch you if you ever fall, if you ever let go." And Zuko pretty much is now standing there, sitting there, swinging around on the threads, and Deku pretty much told Kirishima to keep your quirk on as long as possible and don't let go. So right now, Kirishima is hanging on the thread. Yes, on the very top height with his quirk on. And if he ever let goes, well, he's gonna be terrified for a few seconds and then Zuko go and grab him. So that's going on, and Zuko is now 30 minutes in. Kirishima has fallen 10 times at that time and getting really tired. And Zuko tell him if you're tired, and he said yes, but he wants to keep going. Zuko said that's the spirit, and so another 10 minutes passed by, about 20 more minutes, and then the time will be up. Zuko was starting asking Kirishima So have you figured out who your soulmate is? And Kirishima said, no. I have a few ideas, but I'm not sure who. Zuko said, okay. Who do you think is your soulmate? And he said, I think it's either Uraraka or Mina. And Zuko said, ooh, well, at least you have the girl. One of them is definitely your soulmate. I'm not saying who, unless you pay up. And Kirishima is kind of excited. He wants to pay up, but he doesn't want to. But he asked one question. You said those loops around us are what's holding us back. How much for one loop for either me or her, and for we can be a little closer? And Zook said, I'll be say, I don't know what yen is to dollars, so I say $50. He say $50, and I will tell you which thread. And Kirishima said, is it just one thread, or is it a very threatened, very serious one? Zook said, and he's rubbing his fingers, said, I don't know. And Kirishima said, okay, after training, I'll pay up. And Zuko said, fine, that's good. And he hears a buzzer or ringing on his watch, because Deku does this and want to keep in time. So Zuko said, well, it's time up, and we're pretty high up. And he looked at Kirishima with an evil grin, saying, do you know how fast we can actually go down? And Kirishima said, I guess about 10 minutes to get all the way down there, right? And Zuko said, no, we can go faster. And Kirishima said, like how? And he feels no thread, and he was holding on tightly. He was getting used to it, and he feels no thread at all. And he looks around, and no thread is anywhere. And Zuko said, like this. And they're falling all the way down. And it's right down to the 5th story. No, the 50th story. To the 40th. To the 30th. To the 20th. Now to the 10th. 9, 8. Kirishima is pretty much like tearing up at this point, looking at the ground, and Zuko said, harden your body. Harden. Get harder. And he's just, Kirishima is doing this. And 10 minutes later. Well, for Deku, he does it all the time. So when he gets down to a certain point, he pretty much grabs on the thread and it slows him down drastically. And everybody's kind of like looking at this, of them falling, and Zuko's kind of laughing at this the whole time. And Kirishima pretty much tearing up and is screaming, falling. And then a big dust cloud came around the house, or the training area. And after the dust settles, they were going to ask more questions. Zuko pretty much told them to shush, and pointing at Kirishima. And they're all shocked to see this. And they wait 10 minutes pass by. No, 5 minutes pass by. And then Kirishima opened his eyes and see that he's still in his hardened form. And he's in a ball shape, so he's kind of stuck. And so he asked, look around. He's unhardening his face, then his neck, to his chest, and he's more of a cannonball style. He kind of like have his knees up close as a ball shape, and his arms are parallel to each other up to his chest. Like he can rest his head on his fist. So he released his fist, and he's still hardened on his legs. And he kind of looked around and asked them if they could get him out. And he was going to turn to Zuko and start yelling, and Zuko pretty much said, "Hold up, before you yell, can you look around?" And Zuko's like kind of smiling at this point. "Can you look around? Are you first?" And Kirishima said, "Yeah, I see this. It's a huge hole around me." And Zuko said, "And?" And Kirishima said, "And what? Wait, I I survived." And he's kind of at this point he actually released his whole quirk, and some rubble fell onto him, but he was able to get up. And Zuko pretty much said, "Well, there's two things I did. One, I lied. We weren't actually up airplane height. We were actually 50 stories high. The reason you couldn't tell is because I made it look like it. And two, as you were getting close to around 30 feet where I can survive, I actually slowed you down. I was using one of my threads to kind of like hold on to you without you knowing as you were falling. And at that point, you were actually had your eyes closed and focusing on your quirk." And Zuko kind of like laughing, saying, "So you technically survive 30 stories high using your quirk." And Bakugo was kind of laughing at this point because he thought it was funny too. And everybody else were kind of shocked that Zuko would actually get him to go up that high and not tell him. Zuko said, "Yeah, I'm pretty tired. I'll get about 30-minute rest." And everybody else does the same thing. Lunch already passed by. They came in around lunchtime, so they all ate. So the next time, Hiroshima and Bakugo already went. And now Ida's next. Deku is getting ready with Ida. And so Deku pretty much thinks about what Ida's quirk is and how it will work with his. So Deku pretty much think. So Ida, have you ever been walking? Have you ever walked? What have you been doing with your quirk? And Ida pretty much said, "I just run it with on my lowest settings and get used to it to get to the tops to go to my third to fifth gear." Zuko said, "Okay, so what do you run on?" And Ida said, "On the best payment ever." And Zuko said, "Okay, got the idea." And Ida said, "And what's your idea?" And Zuko said, "Well, first you have to hold on to me, piggyback on me. I'll be holding on to you." And Ida said, "Okay, and this way I'll leave my quirk on, and you have to run on the threads. I'll keep them solid as much as I can, but you are not going to be running on roads, nothing close to it. You'll be running on threads, and some of them do end up turning, so you have to pick on different threads every time." Ida said, "So why is this for?" Zuko said, "Well, you're a human." And Ida said, "Yeah, I'm a human. Why?" And Zuko said, "You can run anywhere. If you learn how to run straight, like a car, you will hit something and not dodge it." And Ida is getting this and said, "All right, I'm ready." And Zuko said, "Hold on. It's going to be a while. Manila, I need about 3 balls." Manila said, "Okay, where?" "On Ida's chest and both of my legs, and like in their thighs." And Manila said, "Okay." And so Ida has one on his chest. Zuko put his hands on his chest around him, kind of like a hug, and then put his it's like the 2 balls on his legs are on his knees, and put it right next to Ida's waist. and pretty much said, "Okay, I'm ready." Um, there'll be so he pretty much tell Manila how long does these last, and Manila pretty much tell him, "I really don't know." And Zuko said, "Well, you're gonna have to figure that one out. For I can be safe, and you can be safe." And Manila said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Well, I have an idea for your quirk, and you might not like it, but it's a perfect way to train it." And he said, "Okay, but what do you mean that I need to get ready?" Zook said, "Well, if I fall off at any time in Ida's run, not only will Ida fall, and I will fall, I will run back over here and beat you down for 10 minutes with no mercy." And he kind of grins and said, "Okay, Ida, let's go." So Ida starts running, and he's running on the threads, and he can't really tell where he's going because the threads appear only in 200 feet. So you can see how far 200 feet, and Ida's just getting scared, so he's like slowing down. And Deku pretty much is yelling at him to not slow down, go faster. You are a human engine. Go faster and predict the next string. If you're going to hit something, move around. So they're actually running in the sky, kind of like moonwalking in One Piece, but running. And Ida's now getting used to it. As he was like almost falling on one thread, he see another thread and jump towards that one. And Ida was about to hit another thread, and Zuko said, "Over your head." And Ida pretty much reach out his arm and grab a thread and push it up. Oh, dang, almost an hour. So my training is gonna take that long. And now Ida is learning that he can use his arms not for just for running and keeping a motion, but actually, if he sees something in his way, he can actually push it off and make himself balance or more flexible as he's running. And then the hour is up. They right, went right back at the area, and they held up. And the Zuko said, "Okay, now figure out to undo this." And Ida is questioning how he's gonna get this off. And as they're thinking of this, Mineta actually figured out how to dissolve the balls. It wasn't really him. He asked Mina to do it for him. And at this point, Zuko said, "Well, wasn't what I was expecting, but it was close." And so next is Manila and Uraka, both of them. And Zuko said, "Okay, you two, I have an idea." And they said, "Okay, what is it?" So, one, you, Manila, you have to go as high as you can. Well, no, not really. About a story high, and put as much of your balls, as many as you can, sticking onto each thread. And he said, "Okay." And Zuko said, "Well, Uraka, now make him float." And said, "Oh, okay," and make me float. So they're both floating, and now Uraka and Zuko pretty much tell her, "Now you just have to stand on my threads. If you feel dizzy, start climbing on one and another. Well, stay on a certain height." She asked why. Zuko said, "Well, and every time the air gets thinner, and so it makes you dizzy and lightheaded. Your quirk make you lightheaded when you use it, right?" She said, "Yes." So Zuko said, "Well, if you train in a certain area that makes you dizzy all the time, you'll get used to your quirk making you dizzy." And she said, "Okay." So she pretty much Zuko pretty much grab a chair, put up there, and have her sit there. And Zuko pretty much gave her a book to read as she's up there. And Zuko pretty much 100 feet away, 150, is a certain area where a bunch of balls are in like a huge area. And it's kind of like a room. And Zuko asked Manila, "Are you ready?" And they said, "Yeah," as they're holding on. Zuko said, "Well, either I'm making these threads more flexible, so it'll be like a bouncing. So you have to now use your quirk and my quirk to start jumping around on your balls." They said, "Okay." And Zuko said, "Now do it as fast as possible, since gravity will get you up every second. So either make more balls or make yourself stick to them, or be fast enough where the gravity does not affect you as much." So Zuko is actually training Manila to start jumping off like how he used his quirk. And so it's actually working. Manela's actually getting faster and faster, up to a point where he's going as fast as Zuko is with his quirk. And now Zuko said, "Okay," and the timer went off. And Zuko said, "Okay, now I'm tired." And Manila is pretty tired too, and so he's kind of getting really tired, and he almost passed out. And as he was about to pass out, Zuko hit him in the face, kind of like a bitch slap. And Zuko told him to look at his balls, and he sees his balls disappearing. And Zuko said, "Now, the rest of the time, figure out what you just felt to make them disappear." And so Minna said, "Okay." So he just grabbed Uraraka, well, kind of like a princess way, because she fell asleep up that height, getting used to it. Okay. And she kind of fell asleep in that attitude. And it was all good. So when he actually he used a certain chair where he can pick that up instead of her, because he saw Suyu getting a little angry if he was going after Uraraka and try to like hold her like a princess. So he just picked her up and put her down on the ground. And a few minutes passed by, and she woke up asking what's going on, and sees that she's not up in the air. So she's looking around and sees that Zuko is actually asleep, because he used up a lot of his quirk for everybody else. And after he fell asleep, he actually wrote down on paper, telling everybody what else they can do with their quirks. So, okay, Suyu, Kaminari, Mina, okay, Bakugo, Kirishima, Kaminari, Uraraka, Ida. Okay, the three. So Zuko wrote down for Mina, Kaminari, and is that it? And Suyu. Pretty much, they are gonna do a teamwork. Right when he wakes up, pretty much telling them to take a break, as they were working hard. And Zuko after he woke up after his break, said, "Okay, last three, Suyu, Mina, and Kaminari, please stand up." And they're standing up, kind of tired too. And Zuko said, "Okay, this will be our last hour. After this, you guys need to go home. I'm tired too." And they said, "Okay, so what's your plan?" Zuko said, "Well, what was it? Oh, got it. Kaminari, what can you do? I don't really know exactly what you could do with your quirk." Kaminari said, "Okay, if I use up too much of my electricity, I go dumb, and that's pretty much my weakness." Zuko said, "Okay, now how high can you go?" He said 1,000,000 volts. Not sure if that's right, or 1 billion. And Zuko said, "Okay, keep it at 10,000 volts throughout your whole body, and stay like that." And Karamari said, "It stay like that? Like, what do you mean? Like?" And Zuko said, "Keep it around your whole body. Train for the hour. Do whatever you want, but keep it in that range. And if you feel like you're getting dumber, turn it down. If you feel like you can go higher, turn it up 1,000 at a time." Kaminari said, "Okay." And so he turned to sue you. And she said, "Okay, what should I do?" Zuko said, "Well," and he points up and said, "Well, you'll be on my threads and jumping, using your quirk, frog, jumping around using on my quirk. It's kind of like how I did, but you're going to be swinging acrobats, everything on it, getting used to the threads." And she said, "So, what is this going to help me with?" Zuko said, "Well," and as he's stretching his arms and looking at them, Zuko said, "Well, I train with my quirk, and I learn I the I stretched out my limbs and made them stronger. So any stationary working out won't help you. Since you're a frog, you work out with every single part of your body, and this is the best method for your quirk. So go on there and have a field day. Not over 200. I can't go any further." So Suyu said, "Okay." And after she took a drink and started going. And now it's him and Mina. And Mina asked, "So what am I going to be doing?" Zuko said, "Well, how far, your quirk is acid, right?" And she said, "Yeah, I can control how potent it is and how low it goes." Zuko said, "Oh, now I have an idea." And she said, "So what is it?" Zuko said, "Well, come here." And she as have Zuko turn on his quirk to have Suyu on it, and, she started climbing. And Zuko said, "Well, see this thread?" She said, "Yeah." uh, "Use your lowest point and see what happens." And she said, "Okay." One drop, and Zuko said, "Okay, keep it going and make it more potent every a gallon. Can you go up to a gallon or a cup?" She said, "I can go up to a pint and then I start to hurt." Your skin or your quirk?" She said, "My quirk." So Zuko said, "Okay, when you start feeling pain, wait about 5 minutes for your quirk. If you start feeling pain on your skin, turn it back a bit, okay?" And she said, "Okay." So she's doing this, and up to a point, it's getting really close to an hour. Suyu is pretty tired, so she's starting to go down, and it's the buzz ring, and she pretty much was on the grass at that point. For Mina, she's actually yeah, Mina is actually really used to the pain right now. She's going at the highest point for her assets, and she stops every time she gets tired using her quirk, then going back again. And Zuko is getting trained as well, making himself used to the pain that his threads are going through, and he's noticing that he's starting getting a little pinkish on his one of his arms, and Zuko pretty much covering it up and doing that, but it starts to heal after Mina, sorry, after Mina stopped using her quirk. After that 10 minutes of her break is 10 minutes of all of it healing up. Zuko knows that he's actually connected to his threads, and he wonders about something, but he doesn't know if it's a good idea or not. And after that an hour passed by, he looks at Kaminari and see how Kaminari is. Kaminari said, "Well, I since they were so good at it, I actually turned it 10,000 up instead of 1,000 every time." And Deku said, "Okay, you, okay." "And how did it go?" And he said, I'm almost to 1 million. I was so close, but I and Zuko said, "You went dumb. You went stupid." And he said, "Yeah, but I now know what my limit is." And Zuko said, "Okay, so the rest of your week you can do that." And everybody's leaving, pretty much saying thank you. And Ida saying, "Well, I'm sorry that we didn't really help you with your quirk." Zuko said, "No, it's okay. You actually helped me a lot with mine. I learned a few more weaknesses to my quirk, and knowing my weakest point, I can break it. So technically, you actually helped me as I was helping you." And as Ida was the last one to walk, second to last one to walk off, and Zuko said, "Oh, all right. Um, Kirishima, did you do you have the money?" And Kirishima said, "Oh yeah. I'll bring it tomorrow." And Zuko said, "Okay, that would be fine." And everybody's pretty much leaving. I'm not gonna do anything more. No, I'll keep going. I have enough time. I'm not gonna go into the sports festival for this video. It's still gonna be more story. If you guys want to go to the festival, you have to go wait for the next part. So the next day comes, and Suyu and Kirishima actually ring on the bell. Suyu wants to actually train with Zuko since she actually felt the muscle strain on areas that she never really trained on. And she couldn't find anything on the website, Google or Bing. And she couldn't find anything that will help out in that area. So she pretty much asked Zuko as up front, as they're in the living room right now, asking Zuko if she could train with his quirk. And Zuko said, "It's all good. I'm good with it. Just call my mother to tell you that she'll be expecting company afterwards." She said, "Why?" Zuko said, "Well, today is her day off. She just went out and get some groceries." And so Suyu said, "Okay, I'll just call me when she's here." And so Suyu was up there now training with Zuko's thread. And Zuko's just now getting used to using his quirk the whole day. Right now, he can do it up to 8 hours. But he's going to go up to 24 hours. And Kirishima gave him the $50 and said, "Okay, so who is it or what thread should I work on?" Zuko said, "Well, the $50 was really me." And he got the $50 and put it in his wallet and said, "Okay, the thread is nothing." And Kirishima said, "What? Come again? Did you just make me pay for nothing?" Zuko said, "No. For you to know that you don't need to work on anything else. You're actually perfect, and the girl is actually perfect and ready to date." And Zuko said, "Well, also one more thing. If you ask out the wrong girl, it will set you back 2 threads, and who knows, maybe that lasts about 2 to 3 years." And he said, "Years?" And Zuko said, "Yeah. It's pretty sad too if you don't choose the right one." And Kirishima's just sitting there thinking, who is it? Is it Uraraka or is it Mina? Zuko said, "Well, it's pretty obvious." And Kirishima said, "Who is it? And how obvious is it?" Zuko said, "Well, you never really know who your soulmate is, but you always have a feeling every time you're close to them." And so Zuko asked, "So when you're close to Uraraka, do you ever feel like you're happier? Do you ever feel anything different?" And he said, "I feel a little calmer." And then Zuko said, "And Mina, do you ever feel what?" And Kirishima said, "Happier, calmer, uh, myself, more free." And Zuko said, "So, can you tell now?" And he kind of like looking at Kirishima now, kind of like getting closer and closer because he loves doing drama, but the good kind. one where it actually makes their a relationship so much better, and that realization that you were close to your soulmate for a long time. So I'm doing only the common ships. I'm not doing any same-sex sex ships, mostly because right now I'm just going to do this. Maybe my next series or a few others, maybe same-sex, but I'm not sure. I'm okay with it. I'm just not doing it. So Kirishima thinks, and every time he thinks, he always thinks of Mina instead of Araka. Araka is cute and all, but every time he thinks of a future girlfriend or future wife and he starts blushing, he thinks of Mina. And Zuko said, "So, did you just figure out who it is? And can you scream it out loud? I want to hear you say it." And Kirishima said, I think it's," and he thinks of her face and how she's smiling. And Kirishima said, "Well, it's Mina." And it was really loud too. So then he heard a bell ring. Zuko said, "Oh, she's here." And Kirishima says, "Who? Your mother?" And Zuko said, "No, someone else came. I knew she was coming by." And Kirishima said, "Who?" And Deku said, "Well, I called her in just to be sure. I knew it was going to happen. I just wanted something." So Zuko, Kirishima, come on. I want you to meet her. And he's just kind of like smiling. And he opened the door. Right now, she can only see Midoriya, but Kirishima's behind the door. And said, "Oh, you're here. Well, sorry for the noise. Did you hear anything?" And she said, "Yeah, and she's kind of like blushing really loud right now. Here that she heard Mina is the one." Kirishima pretty much said, "I think it's Mina. It's the one." And she's kind of like blushing right now, asking if Kirishima's here, and did I hear his voice? And Zuko pretty much opened the door more. Kirishima sees Mina blushing, and now he's blushing, and Zuko's just enjoying this little view of it, pushing Kirishima a little closer to Mina, and just like walking back slowly, not to get yelled at yet. And Zuko's just waiting there, whispering at at both of them, but mostly at Kirishima, telling him, "Ask her." And he asked her out. So at this point, it's going to be end of the video. I hear my family coming in and it's pretty loud. So this will be the end. I'll tell about the rest of the parts, rest of this going on next part. See ya.